Hello and welcome to the 2021 Heart of Henry. I'm Heather Ricchetto-Rumley and I'm so glad you've joined us for this special presentation. Just like in a studio session, a ballet, or a play, there are many moving parts behind the scenes that make it all possible. The same is true for the Tulsa Day Center in their mission to provide hope for the homeless. Through their work, they treat both the symptoms and the causes of homelessness, pursuing a future where every Tulsan has a home. Tonight, our hope is that through this presentation, you will be better equipped to share the vision of the Day Center with your family and friends. We will be discovering what the experience of homelessness is and is not, learning about the services that the Day Center provides, and recognizing some exceptional people with awards for their service. An event like this cannot happen without sponsors, volunteers, staff, and contributors. Thank you to everyone who's worked behind the scenes to make this special event possible. Tonight's presentation is chaired by Joel and Karen Kantor, whom you'll meet later in the program. Homelessness is an experience that is vastly misunderstood. We'd like to share this short video addressing many of the misconceptions of homelessness from the people who serve our community on a daily basis.
It's a situation, it's not the person, you know. They're experiencing homelessness. That's not who they are.
Most people, once they have reached homelessness, it's for a multitude of reasons. It's not just one thing. I mean, some people, yes, they've lost their job, or yes, they've been kicked out of a house, domestic violence, or they have mental illness.
Addiction is definitely one of the causes of people becoming homeless, but there's a lot of things that's tied into addictions as well. There are a lot of people that are housed that have an addiction problem. So it's not just the problem of addiction that causes people to become homeless.
The most misunderstood thing about homelessness would be that people want to be homeless. I've been doing this for 10 years. I have not seen that. I know, given the time and connections that you make and relationships that you build with people that are experiencing homelessness, once they realize that they have somebody in their corner that will walk alongside them, that they are more than willing and want to find their own place to live.
People think all homeless people are lazy and that they don't want to do anything. Growing up, that was a misconception I had, that homeless people are lazy and they don't want to work. And then when I come to work here in the homeless community, I realize that it's not that they don't want to work. A lot of them don't have the skills to keep a job, to even apply for a job.
Some of it is, employment, and they can't afford their rent anymore. And so because of that, they find themselves utilizing the day center, or they're having issues with the landlord. And because of that, they are displaced. And so they spend some time here at the day center trying to regroup and find a job or find an apartment or a home that they can live in. And it takes time.
When I first started here at the day center, I can remember one of the clients coming to me with his resume folded up in his pocket. And he was getting ready to get on the bus to go do job interviews. So, nobody's going to hire someone with a folded resume. So those are the skills and the knowledge that we take for granted, because we can put ours in a folder and put it in our car or catch an Uber and go on a job interview. And they don't have that luxury.
People that are experiencing homelessness know what they know their situation. And oftentimes we forget that they have some pride. They don't want to go to a job dirty or disheveled, just like we don't want to. But they're in a situation where they can't get out of. They find themselves in a kind of a rut.
At one point, people used to say everyone's a paycheck away from homelessness, and there is some reality to that.
Most people live paycheck to paycheck. And if you miss 3 paychecks in a row and you don't have a family member to turn to, you're hurting. You're not going to know where to go and what to do. And thank God that's where we come in and help you.
But I think the perception oftentimes is for the people is that's their problem, not my problem. Well, it's all of our problems. It really is. We need to help people get in their own place. And we have to be aware of people's needs. Yeah, sometimes they get in their own situations. I get that. We all make mistakes, no doubt. But we want at the Tulsa Day Center, we want to project some hope to them that they don't have to be in this situation. Might take some time, might take some effort on their part, definitely, but also just to really work on their situation, and we're there to help to do that.
This is just the beginning of understanding the situation that surrounds the experience of homelessness. There's also a misconception of the services the day center provides the community. You may be aware of some of the big changes being made to the day center, including a major expansion and renovation of the downtown facility. This includes the expansion of the clinic, client service offices, and common areas to meet the changing need. And all of this is to accomplish the goal of providing hope to the homeless. Some think that the Tulsa Day Center is a daycare for homeless people. Nothing could be further from the truth. This is one of the misconceptions discussed in this next video.
Well, we've got a pretty simple mission at the Day Center. The mission is stated pretty clear that we serve those that are experiencing or at risk for homelessness, and so that opens up a lot of things that we do here. But what our expectations and our main objective is for people to get housed. Housing ends homelessness. That's a simple mission.
Yeah, the biggest misconception is that we're just a day center for days only, and we are here 365 days. We do not close. That's another misconception, that we close. We're open all the time.
I've actually heard this before from people in the community, and it's that the day center is a big place that enables people. We're big enablers. And actually, we're not. In my opinion, I don't think we enable at all. I think we provide a lot of services for the city. Had it not been for the day center, where would people have to go during the day? We're actually a place for people to come in and talk to other people, get the services they need.
I think most people have misconceptions that we're just a shelter. We've been here over 30-some years now. So when someone new comes to us that's experiencing homelessness, or to be an individual or a family, we sit down with them and make sure, first of all, that they feel like they're in a safe place. We want to be sure their safety is our concern. We also want to know kind of what their situation was. What caused you to become homeless?
When you first meet someone, you really want to sit down and take the time and listen to their story. And that's what they want to tell. They want to tell their story. They want to explain how they ended up in this situation of homelessness. They may come in and they may need something simple as a bus token. But the reality is, this is the reason I need a bus token. So you want to hear their entire story.
So our case managers meet with them, figure out what's going on and how we can help. Whether it's immediately getting them a shower if they haven't showered in days, or whether it's clothing with the weather changing, or shoes. Once we have kind of assessed them and how we can help, whether it's getting them housed, whether it's helping them get their IDs so they can get a job or get housed, we have to just explore all the areas of what brought them here and then how we can help get them housed.
The one thing that stands out the most about the Tulsa Day Center for me, and what is so impressive to me, I love the fact that we have an awesome clinic. The clinic is an awesome place, providing great services.
If somebody walks into the clinic and they're brand new to me, my goal is to try to keep them out of the ER, but to try to get them the assistance they need to keep them healthy, to keep them out of the ER, keep their medical health, chronic health conditions in control, to help them have the medications. Because if they're healthy, then they can be housable which will make them sustainable in their housing. So from my perspective, you got to get them healthy. It's for them to stay housed and be productive. So that's my job, and that's my goal.
We're more than a shelter, right? We have services available. We have permanent supportive housing. We have our own apartment complex. We have our clinic that's here helping folks, a rapid housing program that's federally funded that helps people turn around from being homeless in a very rapid way, thus rapid rehousing. We don't want people to be homeless long with that program.
So the overarching goal for a person coming in is to make homelessness rare and brief and non-reoccurring. Our hope is that we can meet their immediate needs and that we can get a plan and get them out of the day center, out of homelessness, and into their own place. And that's what we're doing.
The success of the Day Center has always been in the strength of this community's involvement and investment. As the Day Center grows, it makes sense that it will be ever more dependent on partners and volunteers to meet the growing needs. The hope is by your participation in viewing this presentation, you will be better equipped to share the vision of the Tulsa Day Center. One of the things we enjoy the most is recognizing those whose actions exemplify the spirit of Henry Zero. His spirit of giving and serving is why the center is such a wonderful part of our community. The Heart of Henry Volunteer of the Year Award is given in recognition of outstanding service. This year's award goes to a very special couple who organized Mojo Fest, a yearly concert to benefit the Tulsa Day Center for the Homeless.
I grew up here in Tulsa, was part of the Tulsa sound thing that they came up with. And I used to work here at the Shelter Studios when Leanne Russell had this in the early 70s, and went on to play with Bob Seger and Eric Clapton for many years and numerous other folks.
Jamie was dedicated. He was absolutely dedicated to music, and he never stopped. He didn't stop until the day he died. Jamie, to me, was so different than most of us growing up. He was, when he had a mission, he never strayed from it. Jamie was probably the most sensitive person I've ever met. He had the largest heart. We were in the Home Depot parking lot, heading home, and there was a woman and her child walking across the parking lot. And Jamie said, "Why isn't that child in school?" And I said, "Well, honey, he's homeless. He and his mom don't have a home." And he stopped the car and kept saying, "That can't be." And I said, "Yeah, they're homeless." And he got teary. When we got married, well, before we got married, we were eating lunch at Bohemian Pizza. And we were talking about where would we get married. And we both, you know, at our age, we didn't want a church wedding. We didn't want to do that again. And we had to, of course, accommodate for all of Jamie's friends. Mine probably weren't a problem, but Jamie had way too many. And so Jamie all of a sudden looked around and he said, "Well, let's get married here." And I said, "Well, you can't just get married in a restaurant, you know, in the outside patio." And he goes, "Yeah, we can." And he said, "But that's not going to hold enough of our friends." He said, "We need to have a party afterward, and let's have it out there in the street." I said, "Well, you can't close a street down." And he went, "Yeah, I can." I thought, "Really? You can do that?" So anyway, long story, we met with Pat Johnson and Amy McMillan, and they loved the idea. We had our wedding there. We closed the street off and had a marvelous party. And in the process of doing that, Jamie, he said, we don't want to get presents. And I said, no, we need to have some kind of, cause. And he thought of a few things, and I said, I'd like it to be the day center for the homeless. And Jamie thought that was a great idea. He closed the street down. He got bands on a very large stage at one end of the street. He put musicians in restaurants. He got his old band, the Rogues Five, back together, and they were the opening act. And Dewey Bartlett came and played on stage, all the musicians from Tulsa. And this transitioned to the idea of making this an annual event, and so we named it Mojo Fest. But I do want to say that it would not have been possible without Amy McMillan and Pat Johnson. They have been with us from the beginning. As much as I appreciate this award, the work that those people do at the Day Center, every one of them, those are the people that really deserve all the credit, all the work they do. We put on this festival and we made it a yearly event, but the workers, they're the ones to really, in my opinion, be more appreciated.
We just want to say congratulations to Jamie and Mary for this honor and award that's very well deserved.
We are just really proud at Bohemian Pizza that we got to be a part of this and to help our community downtown and the homeless and the wonderful things that they are doing at the Day Center. And I'm pretty proud of my good friends, Jamie and Mary, and glad we're a part of it.
Guys, let's make a toast to the Tulsa Day Center for the Homeless and all of the work that Mary and Jamie have done to help them and all of us.
Wonderful. We love you.
Cheers. Here.
Excellent.
When Jamie came back to his roots, he didn't just stay at home. He really wanted to get involved with his community, and he did in a variety of ways. Certainly he focused on musicians, on music, on the OK Pops Museum, but he focused a lot of his efforts on the Tulsa Day Center for the Homeless. Mojo Fest, he and Mary created that for the main purpose of helping fund the Day Center for the Homeless. He asked me and a whole lot of other people for financial help, for donations and being involved, and I gave him a figure and he kind of blinked twice and said, you have to do better than that, Dewey. He did that to everybody, and everybody gladly said, okay, because it's for a good cause and it's for you, my good friend Jamie Oldacre.
Hi, I'm Joel Kantor, and this is my wife Karen, and we are the honorary chairs for the Heart of Henry Award supporting the Day Center, and we could not be more pleased to make an award to the Oldacres for their volunteering for the Day Center. Jamie, as most of you know, has been an institution for this city, and his ability to give back has been endless. And Mary has been a wonderful support for all of that work, and we just want to say thank you, Mary, for all the thankless hours and contributions you've made to support the Day Center.
Joel and I are pleased to be the honorary chairs this year and present this award to Mary and to Jamie for being Volunteers of the Year for the Heart of Henry.
Thank you so much. This is beautiful. Thank you. I wish so much that Jamie were here today. I know he would be thrilled. Mojo Fest for us was something we were passionate about, and it was a labor of love. But it never could have been done without Jamie and his ability to put a performance together. Jamie wanted to give back to the community of Tulsa because Tulsa had done so much for him. And this was a perfect opportunity to do just that. Jamie could put a production together in his sleep, so I give him most of the credit for this. But I also want to thank the Day Center, all the workers, all the volunteers, everybody involved. They helped make this happen. And I have something for you. These are the original from our wedding Mojo Fest pins that say, if you have a magnifying glass, it says in honor of the Day Center of Tulsa and celebrating the marriage of Jamie and Mary Oldacre.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Mary and Jamie, for your vision in creating Mojo Fest as a fun and festive way to engage the community in supporting the Day Center. It's important to remember that the goal of the Day Center is to get people past the experience of homelessness. Anthony and Michelle are two people who've moved to a permanent solution with the assistance of the Day Center, and the following is just a bit of their story.
My name's Michelle Delo. I came to the Tulsa Day Center August 2019 after I had been having what my shrink and I thought were panic attacks, and it turned out to be a heart issue. So after a heart surgery, unfortunately, since I had quit the job we thought was stressing me out, I couldn't find employment because I had lost my ID.
My name is Anthony Payton, and well, the beginning of my story is I was living in my mother's home, and after she passed, I kind of went downhill.
I mean, I worked for the same pharmaceutical company for 25 years. You know, I've never even come close to being homeless. Now, I was hoping I would just get another job like I always do. So I thought, I'll be fine. But as I went to get another job, I then found out I did not have ID. So it all compounded, and after the heart surgery, I had nowhere to go, so I came to the Tulsa Day Center.
I lost the house. I couldn't pay it. When I asked for forgiveness, I asked God, I said, I don't care what road you're going to put me on or what you're going to happens, get me out of this. I'm tired, Lord, so whatever circumstances, whatever I got to go through to get out of it, please do, get me out of it. And so that's when things hit the fan and recognized I had to go down to the Day Center.
I walked in, I was scared to death. To leave a hospital on shaky ground as it is and to walk in a door, I was terrified. But everybody here was really nice. I personally was amazed at everything they provided. They're like, well, there's only going to be 2 meals a day. I'm like, only? That sounds for somebody who's not working and has no income. Somewhere to sleep and 2 meals a day sounded pretty darn good to me.
When I came here, I was weighing 118 pounds. I was a scarecrow. And the nurses got on me and got me some insurance and got my weight back on me and started doing healthy things for me. And I got up to 190 pounds. And I wound up staying there a year and a half before Mac brought me out of there and brought me here. And he said, you don't cause no problems, you're good people. I'm gonna get you out of here, you've been here too long. I said, I'm ready.
Lauren came on as my new case manager, and I finally, just recently, thanks to Lauren and the Day Center, got my ID. And at that time, they were also placing me in my own apartment. And now I also have a job here at the Day Center. So since October, a lot's happened, and it's all been really positive.
I got 2 daughters. When I was homeless, I didn't see my kids all that time. During that time, they didn't come see me, and I didn't get to see them. By me moving out here, it made all things possible. It made it much better. They come to my place and sit around and give me a hard time. everything just starts falling in place. It's funny how God brings you back together, separates you, and He brings you back together. And I'm blessed to be here. Very blessed.
I worked for a big company and had great insurance, but I'm not going to lie, I've never been treated like I have here. It's wonderful. They're good to me. Well, they're good to everybody.
As you can see, these lives were transformed by finding a home and just knowing someone believed in them. One of the key elements the Tulsa Day Center has for solving the issue of homelessness is permanent housing. Anthony and Michelle both found different paths to housing. Anthony lives at Hudson Villas, and Michelle found an apartment in the same neighborhood she lived in. The Hudson Villas project took years to plan and develop, and our next award is given to one of the main people who took on this task with great energy and commitment, David Pearch. Recently, I visited with David on the porch at Hudson Villas. David, let me be one of the first to congratulate you. You are the Heart of Henry Award recipient this year. What does it feel like?
Oh, well, I'm very honored, especially since I know the previous recipients and how dedicated they were to the Day Center's mission. I'm just very honored and humbled to be in their company.
Well, I think it's indicative of your impact. And so let's talk about how you got involved with the Day Center and maybe what or whom brought you to it.
Sure. So back in 1995, the Day Center's associate director lived next door, and I was out swinging the kids in the swing in the tree in the front yard, and she came by and she said, you know, we're looking for a new board member at the Day Center. Do you think your wife would be interested? And I said, well, I doubt it. She's got 2 little kids. She's involved with junior league. She's working. She's got a lot on her plate. But I just started a new job, and I need to get out in the community and network and get exposed. So maybe I'll do it. And so I joined the Day Center board in 1995, back when it was still a subsidiary of Tulsa Metropolitan Ministries. So I got to meet a lot of the original board members back then, which was really interesting. You know, here I was in mid-30s at the time.
Yeah.
Most of these guys were in the situation I'm in now, so it was really interesting. But I was involved in investments, so they put me on the finance committee, and I worked on the separation, the spin-off of the Day Center from Tulsa Metropolitan Ministries. And then, you know, over the years I filled various board positions, and then the last big effort I chaired was building Hudson Villas here. So I guess the moral of the story is watch out who you live next door to.
Yeah, exactly. What you say yes to.
Right.
Well, it's been wonderful that you said yes, and you've seen so much over the years. What would you say is the reason why you keep serving all of these years? What's the motivation?
Well, you know, when I first started, and I got a tour of the Day Center, and you see the folks that are there for the services, the clients, and you see all the services that the Day Center offers, and they ask for your help. It's impossible to say no. And I really enjoyed all the people that we worked with, on, you know, the staff and the board members. I think when I first joined the board, Reverend William Wiseman, Dr. Wiseman was the board president. And he's by far the best orator I've ever heard. I mean, he would just grab you with when he was giving a speech at the beginning of the meeting, or he'd given a prayer at the end of the meeting. Reverend Clarence Knippa, you know, he was the fundraising guy, and he wasn't bashful calling anybody. Maynard Ungerman, I got to meet Mr. Henry. You know, I got to work with all these, you know, pillars of our community back when I was first getting started. It was just a great experience, but they never lost sight of who they were serving and why they were there, and it was a community effort, and it was a great group to be involved with. So over the years, I just felt a commitment to it. I still do. And when I first started, I had a lot more time than treasurer, so I spent a lot of time involved with committee work and officer functions. But over the years, I've been able to, as our business has grown, I've been able to, you know, contribute more financially to help support the program. And I think that's just kind of the life cycle. You find an organization that you really believe in, and you support them long term. And most of the folks that have been involved with Heart of Henry have done that. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. So, do you have a favorite story about Henry you'd like to share?
Well, you know, I when I first started on the board, I got to meet all these guys that, you know, were really pillars of the community. And I got to meet Mr. Henry then a few times, but I never got to really sit and visit with him. But when we started the Hudson Villas project, the whole process, of course, the first person we went to visit with was Mr. Henry and the Zeros. And what impressed me so much was how humble he was, and also Dave Henschel, who was with us, who's been on the board for a while. Those two guys would not take any credit. They wanted to offer all the credit for all the success they had at the day center to each other, saying, "Oh, it was." And Dave was like, "Oh, Henry had done such a great job in getting this program off the ground." And Henry said, "Oh, we couldn't have done it without Dave." And I was just so impressed by these guys who were pinnacles of their profession.
Sure.
Being so humble. And
meaning it.
Yeah. And so right about the time we completed Hudson Villas, it might have been Mr. Henry's 95th birthday. We had a birthday party celebration for him at Quick Trip headquarters, and Clayton Vaughn got to interview him. But I got to introduce him, and I said, well,
wow.
Who wouldn't want to be like Mr. Henry?
That's true.
I mean, everybody in the community loves him, and he was very successful, and he gave back to the community, and he just set a great example for everybody. So,
yeah. Wow, big shoes to fill for all of us, right?
Yeah. And so, I think the Heart of Henry Award, is very important because it honors the people that have tried to be like him. And I got to meet a lot of them. When we were raising the money for Hudson Villas, I got to meet a lot of those folks, and it was really impressive. So
I love
that. I guess that's a benefit I got from being involved in the program.
Yeah. Well, the program has benefited from having you involved, and again, congratulations on the award. And thank you so much for serving for so long and helping to restore lives and really drive the mission of ending homelessness here.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it, David.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
David and I started working together more than 25 years ago on this project through the Day Center, and I couldn't be more proud to be able to present to him this award, since he carried on the legacy of all the hard work while I sat in the background and clapped. David has always been a tireless worker for an organization that is highly qualified to be in this community, and David, you've done just a fabulous job.
Thanks.
Joel and I are honored to be the chairs of this event this year and present David with the Heart of Henry Award for 2021.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Karen and Joel. I really appreciate you guys chairing the event this year. And this actually worked out pretty well because I don't have to give a long speech in front of 200 people. So I'm especially honored to receive this award because I was able to meet Mr. Henry a few times over the years working on day center projects, and I was always struck by his humility. He genuinely cared about others and giving back to his community, and he just set a great example for all of us. I want to thank the board and the staff at the Day Center. This has always been a team effort. I want to thank my family and especially my wife, Carol. They're the love that keeps me going. I want to thank the staff at Pinnacle Investment Advisors, including Joel, our firm, because they covered for me all the time when I was out working on day center projects. And then I also want to especially recognize my friend, Sandra Lewis. She and I went out on lots of fundraising calls together. And I want to leave you with a quote that I came across a few years ago reading a book by Robert Penn Warren. It says, "To give to another without reward is the only way to compensate for our mortality and perhaps the binding principle of this world." Thank you very much.
We know this event is different than our galas of the past, and we hope this year's presentation has been both informative and inspiring. We ask for your help in sharing the Tulsa Day Center's mission to provide hope for the homeless. We need you, your family, friends, and others in our community to raise awareness together of the mission, services, and the significant impact of the Tulsa Day Center. Your knowledge sharing, advocacy, and support, along with that of our partners, will help prepare us to meet the challenges ahead, bringing hope, housing, and restoration to those in need in our community. Thank you, and special thanks and gratitude to those honored this evening.